You guys absolutely loved my Transformers ranking, and I was subsequently hunted down and killed for ranking Lockdown above Megatron, so I had to bring you guys another one. So today, I am going to be ranking all of the live-action Batman villains. Real quick, before we begin, Catwoman will not be on this list, as every time she turns out to be a good guy, and she only fought Batman one time in one scene in Batman Returns, so yeah. Oh, and also no Batman 66, because it was off the TV show. Without further ado, let's get into it. Dead last on the list is Bane from Batman and Robin, arguably the worst Batman film in the history of ever. In the comics, Bane is considered the only villain to break the bat in the comic Nightfall, wherein he triumphs over Batman both physically and mentally. In this, we get a comic accurate look, but they made him into a giant stupid zombie. There's not much to say. Here he is, one out of three villains, and just grunts and groans the whole time. It's really stupid, and this is the worst one.
I was just thinking the only thing that's missing right now is a giant crocodile.
Next, we have Killer Croc from the Suicide Squad. Now, I have no clue as to why they didn't just CGI him instead of using prosthetics here, because here's how Croc looks in Suicide Squad, and here's how he's supposed to look. Here they shrunk him down to like just 6'2", and he doesn't really talk or do anything for the entire time. Like at the end he goes underground, fights some guys, and throws a thing. That's it. Compared to the comics, this version is extremely nerfed.
I'll be back.
At number 20, we have Mr. Freeze. He was a tragic character in the animated series where he made his debut because his wife was dying and he was trying to find a cure, until an accident made it so that he can't survive without his suit. Here he's trying to do the same thing, but it takes up no screen time, and he's just here to make a bunch of ice puns, and he wants to cover the world in ice. He teams up with Poison Ivy, who we'll get to soon, and she kills his wife, but he thinks Batman did it, so basically they took the animated story, which was good, and tampered with it to make it super campy.
Poison Ivy.
At number 19, we have Poison Ivy, also appearing in Batman and Robin, and she, I think, is by far the best in this film, but that's already a low bar. She, too, suffers from making plant puns, and she also has the hots for Mr. Freeze and kills his wife, then blames Batman for it. Weird, I know. But Bane is also like her servant or henchman or whatever. It's dumb. At the end, she's eaten by a plant. I actually thought she died here, but she doesn't. She gets put into prison with Mr. Freeze, and he finds out she killed his wife and then dies? We don't really see what happens.
It's Morbin time.
This is probably the most disappointing one because it had so much potential. As I said in my Batman v Superman retrospective, I don't mind the Ultimate Edition, and something in the film is Joker's writing on the Robin suit. Now, I was excited because Joker's one of my favorite villains. However, instead of a good Joker, we got this. This is no question the worst Joker ever in live action. They improved him a touch in Justice League, but this monstrosity is unforgivable. It also didn't help that the trailers misled the audience to believe that the Joker would be the main villain, and at the time he was, until some good old-fashioned studio interference ensured that Enchantress and her Uncanny Valley CGI'd brother became the villains instead. Look, I'm not going to dive into all the reasons this film ended up sucking harder than a lamprey being latched onto a man's schlong. That's a different video. This Joker is, I will say, the most unique for all the wrong reasons. It looks like he's trying to cosplay as 6ix9ine with all the tattoos and the grills in his teeth and the gold change. And combine that with the fact that Jared Leto's method acting went a little too far, then you've got the worst live-action Joker. Even Cesar Romero and his mustache are better than this weird rapper-esque Joker. Let's move on. I don't want to look at this anymore.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Deadshot again is an underwhelming one here because they got the guy who will slap you if you say his wife's name, Will Smith, to play him. He's also the only character to get any development in the whole thing, but it's very minimal. He's the same as Bloodsport in that he has a daughter, but they actually put thought and care into Bloodsport instead of someone who most people know. He's supposed to be the main character, but they focus on Harley Quinn as well, and it's confusing in that way. Will Smith alone is the reason he's so high on the list, because love him or hate him, the man can act. I just wish that he had more to work with and more scenes with Batman. Then it would be cool. And the Suicide Squad by James Gunn is way better than this anyway, so let's move on. Here at number 16 is Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, and this was the start of when Schumacher took over from Tim Burton. So he ditched the series tone and went for extremely campy and cartoony. And the joke is, it somehow worked, even though it was utterly ridiculous. That's why Batman and Robin got made. This Two-Face clearly does nothing but make a ton of weird noises and has a clearly painted on face and wig. In the comics, the acid that sprayed on him disfigures him. Here, it looks as though it gave him stupid makeup. This Two-Face is really stupid, and Tommy Lee Jones really hated it, and he hated Jim Carrey as well. But I respect that he gave it his all, even though he knew it would suck. This Two-Face is really bad, that's it. This is where Batman started to fall off.
Spoken!
Number 15 is Jim Carrey's Riddler. This isn't the worst live-action Riddler. That honor goes to John Ashton, who replaced Frank Gorshin in the 66 series after he asked for a pay raise. Jim Carrey's Riddler becomes that way after Bruce Wayne rejects his brainwaves idea, and he kills a guy, loses his mind, and pulls the old let's team up against Batman thing with Two-Face, even though there's no reason for them to. This version of the Riddler is the most crazy, and that's not just because he's Jim Carrey. His plan is to, steal everyone's intelligence in Gotham, and then he's driven insane because his machine breaks and he's never seen again. There's really is nothing too wrong with this Riddler. The problem is he's too campy and silly, and so his plan, but that's what they were going for. He's not better than the other Riddler, who we'll get to later. Let's move on. I haven't any more to say on him.
I don't know anything. Don't.
It's honestly sad that I'm ranking Polka Dot Man above frickin' Riddler, but I am, so fight me. Before the Suicide Squad, no one knew who Polka Dot Man was, but James Gunn made us love him, and then he got killed by Starro. Polka Dot Man appears in the Suicide Squad, the good one, that is, and his polka dots are a disease from his mother experimenting on him when he was a kid. And I like how James Gunn actually acknowledges that Polka Dot Man is ridiculous in the film, because Polka Dot Man was nobody's top 15 ever, and yet after this film, now he is. It's also funny how he sees his mother everywhere, and he uses it in the final battle against Starro before he dies. Polka Dot Man doesn't end up fighting Batman, but I'm putting him here because he only appeared in Batman comics. I will say, as bad as it might be that James Gunn for some reason has a hard-on for lesser-known characters, in this situation, it works.
You're waiting for a train.
And the award for the worst death goes to Talia al Ghul from The Dark Knight Rises. You only find out she's the villain in the last 20 minutes, just before Bane dies, and the twist is really annoying because it really takes away from Bane. Although I will admit the misdirect that Bane is Ra's al Ghul's son is really stupid. Anyone who read the comics will know that in no continuity is this true. Not to mention that she has the worst death scene after acting actually pretty good despite the circumstances. The twist kind of comes out of nowhere, and the hints you wouldn't catch until your second viewing, and even then they're super subtle. The biggest one being that she's talking about restoring balance to the world, and it's the same thing Ra's said in the first one. Her motivation is that she wants to finish what Ra's started, and she blames Batman for his death. She stabs Batman, drives a truck, crashes it, and then dies. This is when she's revealed as the villain. Also, apparently Bane was her protector in the prison, and there's no evidence that this is Bane until the flashback where she dumps a bunch of exposition on Batman. She's this high because it doesn't really ruin the film, and still, I kind of like it more than the average person because I kind of grew up on it.
So meticulous.
Here we have Barry Keoghan's Joker, and I'm upset that people blame his performance on the fact that his big scene was cut, but he's in the last 5 minutes in the finished film. In the deleted scene, he does so good, and they portray Joker as a grotesque, disfigured type thing. We don't fully see his face at all, which adds to the scariness of it. Batman goes to interrogate Joker to get a killer's perspective, and I'm upset they cut this scene. Maybe because it would have made the film 3 hours long or something, but it's long as it is, so this definitely should have been in the finished film. Also, they said this would have taken away from Riddler, which, come on, no one. Paul Dano's performance alone sold his interrogation scene, and it gave me a great meme template. People complained about seeing another Joker, and I say, what do you want? I know there's a ton of them, but most likely we're going to get one more with James Gunn's new DCU, so what's the big deal with this one? Answer, there is none. You just can't beat Heath Ledger.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Coming into the top 10 is Danny DeVito's Penguin, and I'm a little disappointed they tried to make him a monster and then have him run for mayor instead of being a crime boss, which I think the Batman did a lot better. Penguin barely interacts with Batman, and he has a fight where he infiltrated the Batmobile. Here he commits crimes, but that when he runs for mayor, Batman ruins his reputation by taking audio and playing it through the speakers of his speech. He then loses it and sends penguins to blow Gotham up before Batman stops him. Danny DeVito still did a great job portraying the Penguin, more specifically his animalistic side, and it's always fun to watch him try and wrestle Batman. Sadly, though, it was because of this film that we got the campy Schumacher ones, because parents at the time complained that, "Yeah, Batman is a Batman pretend you can have a guy in his nightmare camera kissing Batman scratch." Despite the quality, Batman Returns underperformed at the box office, and Warner Brothers dropped Tim Burton, but hey, at least we got this.
$7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world.
Now at the top 10 we have Harley Quinn. If we were judging only Suicide Squad 2016 and Birds of Prey, then I'd definitely rank her lower. But James Gunn absolutely saved the character in the Suicide Squad. She's hilarious. She's actually has a comic accurate suit instead of whatever this is. In the 2016 Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn was the second most developed character, but she didn't really change at all, except she thought of others. Despite this, I think that Margot Robbie is still the best Harley Quinn, but that might change when Joker 2 comes out. We'll see how Lady Gaga does.
There's always a bigger fish.
At number 9 is Ra's al Ghul, the main villain of Batman Begins. I will begin with this one by saying this twist works a lot better than the one in The Dark Knight Rises, because we're misdirected into believing that this guy, played by Ken Watanabe, is actually Ra's al Ghul. The one problem, though, comes when he dies, and then we're led to believe Scarecrow's the main villain, but he's not. I think Liam Neeson does a fantastic job playing Ra's al Ghul, and he even returned for a cameo in The Dark Knight Rises. The thing is, I think he should have come back sooner than the last 40 minutes or so, because it feels like two different films. Like the first hour is the League of Shadows stuff, then it feels like a Batman film. And I'm also not going to get into the debate of did Batman technically kill Ra's al Ghul, so let's move on.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Number 8 is Scarecrow, and he just so happens to be the only villain to appear in every film in the Dark Knight trilogy. Usually after Batman Begins, it's just for a scene or two. In Batman Begins, he's working for Ra's al Ghul and dumping fear toxin into the sewer systems, and going a bit nutty after getting sprayed by his own toxin. Cillian Murphy does a great job of portraying Scarecrow from his calm and menacing side to his more crazed side. My only complaint is that he's taken out by a taser, and we don't get to see what happened to him until he pops up in The Dark Knight selling drugs to the mob in one scene where Batman stops him, and then he's brought back as a judge in The Dark Knight Rises and sentences people to death. From the moment he's introduced, you can tell there's something off about him, constantly sending people into Arkham so that he can test his fear toxin on them. We see this in full when he does it to Carmine Falcone. Also, while not really staying comic accurate with the suit making, it's just a burlap mask because Nolan wanted it to be realistic, they make sure that he's still obsessed with fear and mind manipulation. Once again, though, the thing that takes away from him is that he's working for Ra's al Ghul, and they reduce him to a hench person, which really sucks, because based on Cillian Murphy's portrayal alone, he could have been the main villain, but no, we have to make room for Ra's al Ghul.
Say it!
Number 7 is Aaron Eckhart's Two-Face. This one has got to be the best one. This version is everything missing from Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face. This one starts off as the district attorney and as a hero, and is called the White Knight, parallel to Batman's Dark Knight, while he battles crime without wearing a mask. This is, of course, before half his face is burned in an explosion that the Joker set up, as another one kills Rachel. This, combined with the fact that he already started to go crazy earlier, pushes him over the edge, and he becomes Two-Face after the Joker breaks him out of the hospital and convinces Harvey that it's the police and the mob's fault that he killed Rachel. The real reason, though, that this is better than Tommy Lee Jones' portrayal is that he's not super cartoony and silly. We actually see him go from hero to villain, and we also get one of the best quotes I've ever heard from a superhero film.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Also, his appearance is actually terrifying. This is actually what it would look like to get half your face blown off. The unblinking eye, the bones and muscles in the cheek area leaving that side open. You even see him drink whiskey in one scene, and it comes out the other side a bit. This version of Two-Face is why the Joker won. He successfully corrupted what many considered to be the most incorruptible person in Gotham. Batman even says that Joker wanted to prove that even someone as good as him could fall. The only thing is that Two-Face is upstaged by the Joker in this film, and everyone focuses on him rather than Two-Face.
Police, get what you fucking deserve!
Number 6 is Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Now this one is something we've never seen in that it actually is an origin story. But the thing is, it's from the Joker's POV, so he's therefore an unreliable narrator. And the ending shows this in full, where after he's caused a bunch of chaos in Gotham, he's suddenly in Arkham Asylum, and we don't know if he was there the whole time, or if he was brought there after. Also, he's deceived into believing that Thomas Wayne is his dad, and then kills his mom when he finds out that isn't the case. He hallucinates things that aren't true, like going on the Murray Franklin show as a comedian, and that he's in a relationship with his neighbor. His laughing is a condition he has due to being abused by his mother, and they try to paint him as more of a tragic character. When he is brought on the Murray Franklin show, he comes out as the Joker and kills Franklin on the air, and by the end, you think to yourself, wait, why am I rooting for the Joker? Even though this version doesn't actually fight Batman, he does interact with Bruce Wayne and ends up getting his parents shot in the chaos he caused. We'll see how this continues in Joker 2 when he meets Harley Quinn.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
Heading up for the top 5 is Jack Nicholson's Joker. This one from the Tim Burton directed Batman was the first live-action Joker that wasn't just comedic. Jack Nicholson said he wanted his Joker to be serious and scary, and for the time, he did. However, this Joker is also pretty funny with his antics of throwing money and vandalizing a museum, all to Prince music, which, nothing wrong with that. This version of Joker is different in that it's the only one where you see his actual origin. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't count because it could be all in his head. He starts off as Jack Napier, a guy working for the head mob boss, Carl Grissom, but he gets set up by him because he's sleeping with Grissom's girlfriend. My God, why were people alright with this one? Basically, he goes to do a job at Ace Chemicals, but is ratted out to the police. He almost reaches the exit, but Batman shows up and he shoots him, but he shoots himself in the face and falls into the chemicals. This is the one complaint I have with this Joker, is that they show his real origin. The thing about the Joker is sometimes he remembers it one way, sometimes he remembers it another. Also, here they make it so that Joker killed Batman's parents, so he has a connection to the villain. This is also kind of dumb because the point of the robber is that it was just a nobody who shot Batman's parents, and he became Batman to stop anything like this from happening again. They misdirect us in the opening into believing that these are the Waynes, but they're not. His Joker design was also different in that his smile is permanent, and he wears lipstick and dyes his hair green. His skin turned white because of the chemicals. He also wears skin tone makeup sometimes, and it makes his smile even creepier.
Holy God, what are you showing me? His head. Come on!
At number 4 now is Colin Farrell's Penguin. This Penguin is like the complete opposite of Danny DeVito. Instead of being an animalistic crazy pants, he's a powerful mob boss. Or not boss yet, but he's Carmine Falcone's right-hand man, and he actually has the Iceberg Lounge and is involved with the mob, which is how it should be. He's not the main villain, so he doesn't have too much screen time, but the little time he does have, Colin Farrell gives it his all. Also here, he's not short like normal, he's just scarred on his face, giving him the pointy nose. This was nominated for Best Makeup, but was beaten by The Whale. You can see why it was nominated, because Colin Farrell is absolutely unrecognizable as the Penguin.
We are Venom.
At number 3 is Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, portrayed by Tom Hardy. This version of Bane is so high on the list because he's actually more comic accurate than the Bane from Batman and Robin, in that he actually breaks the bat in this film, and also that this one has any semblance of intelligence, unlike the giant zombie hulking monstrosity that was the Batman and Robin Bane. The thing with this one is that he's not as big and muscular as the other Bane, but Nolan was going for realistic and he achieved that with this Bane. Also, he needs his mask to function in this one because of what the prisoners in jail did to his face. Apparently, he got beaten on by a bunch of guys and now wears the mask because it gives him painkillers. So instead of the fictional drug Venom, he's an actual drug addict. And like I said earlier, the twist villain in Talia al Ghul has the same effect that Ra's al Ghul had for Scarecrow, and that it takes away from him, although it's to a worse extent here, because we weren't introduced to Talia al Ghul at the beginning as like a villain while Ra's al Ghul was. Here, Talia just goes by Miranda and seems like a good guy. The twist comes out of nowhere and immediately after Bane gets super nerfed and Catwoman Deus Ex Machina's Batman and Cap's Bane. Which isn't really a satisfying ending because they did the whole break the bat story and Batman defeats Bane, but he just punches his mask and knocks him on his ass. have Bane die in a different way than just a cheap Deus Ex Machina. Batman may have been stabbed, but come on, he's Batman.
No! This is not how this was supposed to go!
Number 2 is Paul Dano's Riddler from the Batman, and while his appearance may be a bit odd in that he looks a bit too much like the Zodiac Killer and the lack of his green question mark suit in Kane, they did get the psycho part correct, and despite the memes, Paul Dano absolutely gives it his all, even though his screen time is kind of limited as well, but not to the extent of the Penguin. They nailed his personality and added a new twist on it, that he actually is a fan of Batman and is under the delusion that Batman and him are in a way working together. Also, once again, props to Warner's marketing team in making us think that Riddler would know Batman's equals Bruce Wayne. They don't make it clear if he knows or not. I like to think he does, though, because he's not dumb. He's smart but insane. And also, his interrogation scene is great on its own. Even if they did include Joker, it wouldn't take away from it. He's trying to kill corrupt individuals in Gotham like the mayor or the commissioner or the DA, but Batman doesn't kill, so obviously he has a problem with this. In the Joker scene, Joker's taunting Batman that he thinks the corrupt people deserve to die, and this would have made it seem as though maybe Batman really does think that. And this film takes place in Batman's second year only, so there's still plenty more to go. Also, give us Mark Strong as Mr. Freeze in the sequel. We need a proper Mr. Freeze in live action. Was there any doubt that number 1 would be this? You cannot beat it ever. Unless Warner casts someone that can pull a miracle right out of their ass, then this will not be beat. Number 1 is Heath Ledger's Joker. I'm sure all of you will agree with me. This is what the definition of the Joker is. He's trying to show Gotham that he can corrupt anyone, and he tries to corrupt Batman. He doesn't want to kill him because he finds Batman too much fun. He tries to get Batman to kill him several times to show that even Batman is corruptible, but he fails in that regard. But when it comes to Two-Face, he succeeds by killing the woman he loves and then blaming the mob and the police. He met with the mob and said they needed to get rid of Batman, and Two-Face was fighting the mob with Batman and Gordon, and the mob let Joker do his thing. But Joker then gets all the mob bosses killed. He kills the guy that doesn't go along with his plan, he takes over another guy's resource and kills him, and then Two-Face kills Maroni. The Joker successfully corrupted Two-Face, and in trying to kill Gordon's son, Two-Face showed there was no coming back. Batman then shoves him off a building and Two-Face dies, corrupted. And this is how the Joker wins. The two boats at the end and the fight are just a distraction for Batman so that Two-Face would kill Gordon's family and therefore show that he was crazy, and then Gotham would be plunged into chaos, which is what Joker wants. But by taking the fall for Harvey Dent's murder, Batman ensures that Harvey dies the hero and he lives long enough to become the villain. Bane then uses this later to plunge Gotham into chaos, and it sucks that Heath passed and they couldn't use Joker again. It would be interesting to see. And with that, we're done. I will say that the Oppenheimer review won't happen until it's on streaming because as I'm under 18 and Oppenheimer is for some reason rated R, I can't see it. So I'll review it when it's on streaming. So until that time, I'm Argysaurus, signing off.